Fishing is surely one of Stanley's oldest industries. Though limited in the early days by the size of the local population, this being long before refrigeration. A cannery was established at Ulverston in the 1930s, which was a boon to fishermen along the northwest coast.
There used to be a barracuda from the Hunter Island right through in those times. That was our stamping ground, from the Hunter Island through to Port Sorell, east of Devonport. And in those days, there was, I reckon there was 50 to 60 cooter boats, all cootering along this north coast of Tasmania. And all the barracuda used to go to the cannery at Ulverston. There was tons of cooter. Actually, the average boat, if there was a real good boat, could catch you a ton of cooter of a morning. That's 40 boxes. And you get your 40 boxes again at evening, day after day. And that would go, the barracuda would set in about August, September. And that season would go right through the summer, right through until the winter gales upset the water in Bass Strait, stirred it up, and the water was clear. Then they would disappear. And then you could bet on them, they'd be back again next year, the same. And nowadays, well, I've towed my lines everywhere, and you catch an odd cooter, but just nothing. I've been all out round the top with my little boat now and tried cooter, and you just can't sort of catch them like we used to.
Fishing for gummy and school shark began in the late 1930s. Boneless shark fillets gained favour over barracuda in the fish and chip trade. Catches were counted by the tonne. 3 and 4 tonne days were not unusual. The fishery expanded through the 1940s and 50s. We are fortunate that Max Hardy shot this film aboard the Rona H in 1955, showing long lining for shark, a fishing method now extinct.
Some people think fishing is child's play. Well, what do you think of this? Preparing shark lines looks easy, but just imagine the tangle that could result. These shark lines average a mile in length, and it is usual to set 5 or 6 lines. Here the lines are hauled at the rate of a mile an hour. Count these fellows at 10 bob each and you've got a good catch. This whole operation of setting and hauling the lines takes approximately 9 hours. This is a rare spider crab.
Shark nets were first introduced in the 1960s and soon became the normal gear for catching shark. The fisheries had declined in recent years and catch quotas have been introduced to ensure sustainability.
8 or 9 tonne trip of shark, which we used to fillet all the shark in those days, We used to do 12 to 15,000 cartons of shark a year for Melbourne market. There's not a fish cut in Stanley now, you know. Anyone catches any shark, they go into bins and straight to the Melbourne market. But that used to be a pretty big business. I used to have about, a gang of 6 or 8 women working on shark filleting on a regular basis.
Crayfishing had been a small fishery due to limited markets, but this changed drastically in the late 1940s when a market for frozen whole crays and cray tails, now known as lobster, was established in the USA. This meant that virtually any amount of crayfish could be caught without depressing the market. John Jacobs took over as manager of the Stanley Fishermen's Cooperative in 1959, initially cooking crays for the mainland market.
We got into the tailing in 1960, and of course crayfish catch increased dramatically through the 60s, and nearly everybody, a lot of the fishermen were mixed fishermen doing craying and sharking, but they all became very much cray fishermen. Vic Hardy remained a shark fisherman almost on his own. It started to build up pretty dramatically from when the tailing started. So from the early 60s through, and it was pretty even over the years. But one year, I suppose it would have been about 1969 or 70, I think we had 500. That was 250 tonnes. But normally we would run 450 to 500,000. So we were doing 200 to 250 tonnes a year here in the port. And strangely enough, even now, today, that hasn't changed a lot.
Back on the job after the storm, this is some of our catch of crayfish. The octopus, also a victim of the cray pot, is a natural enemy of the crayfish.
Stanley remains the principal port for landing fish caught on the northern half of the west coast, as well as the nearby islands. Nowadays, instead of crays being cooked and exported frozen, they are tanked and exported live to Asia. The method and gear used for catching crayfish has changed little in the 60 years since Max made this film. However, boats have become far more sophisticated in the way of electronics and machinery, allowing them to work more days and in rougher weather. Although Stanley developed a modern roll-on, roll-off facility in the 1970s, trade gradually drifted to Burnie as that port's facilities were developed with the construction of a substantial breakwater in the 1960s. Stanley's importance as a trading port declined through the closing decades of the 20th century, and now Stanley relies solely on fishing and tourism.